Good evening, everybody. Professor Hassey here. Week 3 of our remote business finance class. And welcome you all. I hope you had a nice Labor Day weekend. Tonight, our topic, Esteban, what are you eating tonight? What's going on? Esteban, what are you eating? Talk to me.
Veggie chips.
What are you eating? Ah, very nice. A little hot sauce on that?
No, I can't handle spiciness.
All right, okay. Enjoy.
Thank you.
I lost my, oh yeah. So we're starting, our topic this week is the time value of money. The present value and the future value of money. We have a spreadsheet to look at examples of that. I'll show you where that is in your Blackboard. You can either follow along with me or look at it later on because we have another assignment this week. Assignment number 2. It is now posted to Blackboard and we'll look at that in a minute. As I warned you all a couple weeks ago, they're going to be coming fast and furious now. Assignment number 1 was due last night, which many of you have extensions and need to complete in the next couple of days. Assignment number 2 is posted due next Tuesday. And then next week, a week from today, we have our midterm examination, which is a combination of the first 2 assignments, same type of problems, but a little bit more thinking. The midterm examination. Also this week, I am putting together your group case project, which I'll be breaking you up into teams to do this case paper, which is due the second to the last week of our class. And my introduction video this weekend on Sunday will be to explain this case and explain the team selections. So if any of you are interested in working with a fellow student in our class, maybe you've had this student before or you know them, feel free to drop me an email and say, Mr. Hassey, I'd like to work on with this project with this fellow classmate. Okay. So this is a group project, though I'm not such a big fan of group work. In this format of an 8-week class, we need to do that because we need to consolidate efforts. And this group case is a little bit involved, and to share the responsibilities in completing it with fellow students is fine. So I'll be breaking you up into about 8 3-person teams to do this casework. And I'll explain that this weekend in an introduction video to this work, and I'll post the teams this coming weekend. But again, if you want to work with somebody in our group here that you know and have, please feel free to let me know and I will consider that and put you together in this group project. It's called California Best Trucks Case. It's due at the end of week number 7. It's a paper of about 5 to 7 pages, and it's a spreadsheet analysis. And we'll be beginning that discussion next week on that topic of capital budgeting in our class. But until then, we're talking about time value of money. We're talking about the problems that you'll see in assignment number 2, which is now your work for this next week, which is practicing time value of money problems. Okay, so that's where we stand beginning our 3rd week of study. I will post the assignment 1 grades either tomorrow or Friday as soon as I get all the work posted, but I'll probably go ahead and grade some of them who has already been posted tomorrow. I will not post the solutions until I get all the work posted by our students. Then I'll post my solution file to the assignment number 1 file folder. But I'll be sure to get those grades to you by the end of the week so you see how you did. But at the same time, you need to start on this next few days on assignment number 2. Ain't life grand? Okay, so there we go. Anybody have any questions or concerns before we get going this evening? Any questions or concern from the members of our television audience?
Yeah, it's cool.
You are too easy. Okay. Then let's look at this. Wendy and Paulette, I'm going to mute you because I'm getting a little feedback because of your mics are open. So it doesn't mean you can't talk to me, but I'm just muting you for now because I'm getting a little feedback. Okay. Okay, here's our Blackboard file folder, which you are probably cringing every time you open it up. What is Hasse going to give me now? But now you will see a new assignment is now posted in the assignment section. Let's make sure I'm in the wrong class. What an idiot. Let's get out of this. Nice job, Mr. Hasse. You are really on the ball. Here we go. There we go. Okay. Fall, yes, not summer. So if you go to the assignments file folder, you'll see assignment number 2, pretty much the same format as last week, but most of the problems in this assignment are multiple choice, where you're calculating some solutions to problems, and we're going to look at examples of that tonight in our class. Both I give you the same work in a PDF or a Word doc format, and you are to look and do those problems and then post them over by next Sunday evening, next Tuesday evening. And I'll look at those problems in just a minute, but for just so you know that it's there. If you go to week number 3, you'll see in our time value of money, you see the introduction video that I did last week. And also you'll see, hang on just a sec. And again, Professor Hasse posted it to the wrong file, so bear with me. This is going to be a commercial break. While I'm doing this commercial break, let's listen to some music. So hang on for a second. No, I don't have the music up, so you're going to just have to watch this. So hang on just a second. I'm sorry. That's what you get when you have a 2 martini lunch during the day. These things happen. Ha ha. Just give me a minute. It'll just take a sec. Jot this down. Professor Hasse wasn't prepared for class on my week 3. He screwed around and wasn't ready. So note this. There we go. Okay. Okay. I'm okay now. So if you go to week 3, the time value of money, you'll now see at the very top in the folder, there's our introduction video from the other day. There's our agenda. There's an explanation of the chapter. I'm going to show this video in a little bit, this example of time value of money. But also here's a spreadsheet that we're going to be working on tonight. It's called Week 3 Class Lecture Review. We're going to be doing some problems as examples of the key topics of Chapter 5. And so if you want to download that to your desktop and follow along with me, you can. If not, I'll just post it after class with the adjustments we make to it during the course of our study tonight. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to show you a little video here. It's about something that Every morning I get up, I always wish it would happen to me, but it never does. It's winning the lottery, winning the California lottery. That's I think about that every day. It's never going to happen. I don't know why I waste my time. But let's take a look at this little video.
Most lotteries offer you the choice of taking the money as a lump sum or taking payments over a period of time, generally about 30 years. By now, you should recognize that $30 million over 30 years isn't the same as $1 million every year. The Powerball prize in August of 2001 was $295 million, one of the largest prizes ever. The winner could take the prize in 30 equal payments of approximately $10 million, or as a lump sum of $165 million. Why does the lump sum payment seem to be so much less? The Lottery Authority doesn't have $295 million on hand. They're counting on compounding interest to allow them to pay out $10 million each year for the next 30 years. If they pay out a lump sum, they lose that interest. Therefore, the present value of $10 million a year to the Lottery Authority is $165 million.
No video.
Oh, did you enjoy that? Sorry. No video. You didn't see it.
No.
Oh, your hands are raised. Now I see you. I had this video blocked out my screen. Okay, sorry, guys. Let me run this again. Sorry, excuse me. So hang on. Boy, we're off to a good start tonight. Hang on. Okay, now I know where we are here. Let's do this. All right. Paulette, you see the video? Here we go. Okay. Let's try this again, guys. Thank you.
Most lotteries offer you the choice of taking the money as a lump sum or taking payments over a period of time, generally about 30 years. By now, you should recognize that $30 million over 30 years isn't the same as $1 million every year. The Powerball prize in August of 2001 was $295 million, one of the largest prizes ever. The winner could take the prize in 30 equal payments of approximately $10 million, or as a lump sum of $165 million. Why does the lump sum payment seem to be so much less? The Lottery Authority doesn't have $295 million on hand. They're counting on compounding interest to allow them to pay out $10 million each year for the next 30 years. If they pay out a lump sum, they lose that interest. Therefore, the present value of $10 million a year to the Lottery Authority is $165 million.
What this mumbo jumbo means is that if I decide to win the lottery, and none of you have ever won the lottery, you know, you have the option. You can take a lump sum payment or payments over time. The lump sum payment is the present value of that lottery winning. And that's, if winning the lottery, that's a perfect example of if the future value is $295 million, the present value is $165 million. Well, if you're running a business, it's the same way. If I want to invest or if I want to borrow money from a bank and I know in 10 years I have to pay off $30 million, many companies determine the present value of that $30 million and set that money aside today in anticipation of it growing to $30 million. And then they have the money to pay off the debt in 10 or 20 years. One of the things I always did when I borrowed money, I don't borrow any money anymore because I'm an old gangster and I don't want to do that. But one of the things I did when I bought my house or bought cars is I put into my budget a certain portion of my paycheck and I put it aside in an investment. And that investment was used to pay off that debt sooner over time. I saved myself a lot of money on interest and also better credit because I was able to pay that debt back over time because I allocated funds and I had the ability to do that. Some of us don't, so I understand that. But I have the ability to do that so I can pay off the loan quicker because the present value is going to be determined quicker because I'm paying off the principal faster. So these are things that are part of the present value of money and the future value of money. Another common thing in the present value of money, as you guys know about this, is inflation. All right, inflation. The value of a paycheck today, if you're making the same money, let's say you're making $1,000 a week. All right. If you're making $1,000 a week today and you made $1,000 a week last year, you're not making as much money because the value of a dollar has changed now to a year ago. It's gotten cheaper, less expensive. Inflation has ate it. As of July, if you lived in the state of California, the inflation rate was about 5%. So if you didn't get a 5% pay increase from last year to this year, you're behind the 8 ball. You've lost money. And a lot of people sometimes don't think about that. And companies think about that the same way. How can they keep good employees if they don't give pay increases to them to match inflation? And that's a common strategic problem with businesses. Now, some companies say, the hell with it. I don't have the money. I'm not giving you a pay raise. If you don't like it, go elsewhere. But at the same time, you want to keep your core employees working because they're valuable to you, and you have to be aware of inflation. And also you have to be aware of inflation in investing. For example, yesterday, in preparation for this class tonight, I looked at some of my investment accounts, and I happen to have an investment account with Robinhood, the application Robinhood. I got a few dollars in that I throw in there just to play. All right. Well, my Robinhood account in the last year, going back a year, has made 1.93%. That's the return in that account. Nice job, Mr. Hassey, huh? Pretty good. 1.93%. I've made money, almost 2%, but compare that to inflation, I haven't made any money. I've lost money. That money is that 1.93% has been eaten by inflation. So these are the things you have to be aware of if you're a manager of a business, if you're in charge of investments, if you're managing your own personal finances, is you have to be aware of what the cost of money is, especially if you're a corporation, because a corporation borrows and uses hundreds of millions of dollars. 1/2 of an interest point can mean millions of dollars. So you have to be aware of that. So in corporate finance, the time value of money is very important to keep track of. And also it determines future value of money as well. Now there's 3 things that drive the time value of money. And let me bring this up. There's 3 things that drive the value of money. There's the money, how much money you have, the time, and the interest. That's what determines the value of money. How much money you're working with. $10 is a lot different than $1 million, naturally. The time, what time period are you looking at? 30 days, 1 year, 30 years? That's important too. And then what is the interest involved? What is the interest if you're borrowing money, what is the interest cost? If you're investing money, what is the interest return? Remember, interest is determined by the credit worthiness of the individual or the entity that's issuing the money. your credit rating. If you have a FICO score of 800, your car loan is going to be a lot lower interest than if you have a FICO score of 600. It's the risk involved, and we'll talk more about that next week. So you need 3 things to determine the future value of money. And another thing you need is a spreadsheet like this one. It can make it a lot easier calculating it out. Instead of a calculator, which you have to put in different functions, here those functions are all in the spreadsheet. You just have to find the correct one and you're done. So one of the key aspects of this chapter, chapter 5, is learning how to use a spreadsheet to calculate. Now there's some great apps that you can put on a laptop or on a tablet or even on your phone that to do this. But the bottom line is you have to understand the 3 key things. How much money is involved? What is the time of what time period are you dealing with? And what's the interest amount of the calculation? Now I've selected some problems from our chapter, and the solutions of those problems are also given in the Blackboard, but also I'm going to do them in the spreadsheet because you have to do these similar problems in your assignment number 2 in this coming week. And anybody with a business degree should understand what is the value of money, both today or in the future, and also be able to calculate them to do that, to be able to do the calculation. So this is what we're going to use this spreadsheet for, to practice this and learn it. All right. So first of all, I have $100 today. There it is right there. I have $100 today. I'm going to invest it today over 10 years with 8% interest every year. Okay. I'm going to invest that $100. So let's say I have $100 and I don't need it for 10 years. So I go to the bank and I say, give me a certificate of deposit, or give me a money market fund, or give me something. And I want to invest this for 10 years. And the bank says, okay, you can buy this CD or you can get this investment for 8%. Boy, I wish I knew that bank today where that was. But be that as it may, 8%. So the key thing is, okay, how much am I going to have at the end of 10 years? What is the future value of $100 invested over 10 years at 8% interest every year? So every year it's going to calculate, it's going to compound 8%. So there's a nice, neat little function in your spreadsheets. If you go up here to formulas, click on that and you go to function, formulas, function. And in that function is a little box. And you want to look in the category financial, the financial function. And in that financial function, you take the drawdown list and you look for FV, future value. And this is a function, this is a calculation that if you put in these variables, it'll give you the future value of $100 over 10 years at 8%. All right. Now I'm going to stop right here before I do this. Some of you are probably thinking in the back of your head, I'm only going to have to do this for 2 weeks for HASI. After this, I'm never going to do this again. No, Nanette, you will do it again. Because guess what? You got yourself into this mess. You're getting a business degree. You're getting a business administration degree. And with a business administration degree, some point in some time, you're going to be interviewing for a job, or you're going to be a supervisor, or you're going to work for a company, and they're going to say, hey, what's the future value of this? And you're going to thank your lucky stars that you had Professor HASI, because you'll think back, I remember talking about this. The money increases over time. How much is the money? How much is the time? What's the interest? I can calculate this out, because anybody who works in banking, insurance, management, accounting, finance needs to understand the future value of money. It's paramount with a business degree. Okay, so I go to the future value function under financial and I hit OK, and up comes a little function box. This is the same in Apple numbers as well. So I go to the interest rate, and the interest rate is 8%. So I just type in 8%. I go to the number of periods. It's 10 years. Cool. I skip over payment because you're not making any payment. Your present value is 100. That's how much money you have today. Okay. So if I put in 8% over 10 years, that means it's going to be compounded annually for 10 years at 8%, and I have $100. I hit OK, and look at what I get. Minus $215.89. Wait a minute, Mr. Hassey. It shows I'm minus. What does that mean? Well, let me go back to the function. Okay. If I go back to the function, if I put in negative $100, it's the same thing. Negative 100. In other words, I'm telling the logarithm that I'm spending the money, negative. If I do that, it becomes a positive $215.89. The answer is the same, but sometimes students freak out when they see a negative number. Oh, did I lose money? No, no, no. It's just the way the logarithm works in the spreadsheet. But the answer is $215.89. That's the important thing. So in other words, if I put $100 in an investment today, it grows at 8% every year for 10 years, I have $215.89. That's one of the things, if you watch the introduction video that I gave you the other day, the instructor in that video shows you all the mathematics involved. Don't worry about that stuff. Don't worry about that stuff. The reason I showed that video, because I wanted just to get a handle about what the definition is. But for calculating it, you use a spreadsheet. It's a lot easier. And also it's modern. If you're working for a business, if you're doing this at home, you would do this on a spreadsheet. It's a lot easier. So what would happen though if I say, okay, I got $100, maybe I'm going to put it out for 20 years at 8%. What would that be for 20 years? So again, I just go back to my function, financial, future value. There it is right there. The rate is still 8%, but now the number of periods is 20 years. Still the present value, today's value is minus 100. And now I hit OK. I got $466.10. But can you imagine if that $100 was $1 million? Boo, a lot of money. But that's what that means. That money, that $100 is being compounded every year, either 10 or 20 years at 8%. So let's say I had that same $100, but the interest was only 4%. How would that look? It's still going to be over $100, but how much? Function, financial, future value, 8%, or excuse me, 4%. Still, now in this case, 10 periods, still minus $100, $148.02. Okay. It's a lot lower because the interest rate is lower. Same thing holds true. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do a little shortcut here. If I take this formula here by dragging it at the corner to this cell, and all I have to go is put in, instead of 10 in the formula, in the equation, 20, I get 219.11. All right. So that should be, let's go back here and make this 10, since it's the wrong little cell. Well, there's my 148. And if I put this as 20 years in this equation, I got 219.11. Melanie, question.
Yes, I had a question. So this is like you said, those are CDs, right? And I think the CDs, like usually their interest is like what, like 3% or 2% or something?
Well, it depends on the economic conditions at the time. Yes. Matter of fact, there's lower than 3%, to be honest with you.
So looking at the numbers, if like I have children, so if I wanted to put $100 away for them, you know, and then in 20 years, they were only going to get back 466. So you're saying if I put a greater amount of money in a CD based on the interest rate, it'll be worth more in 20 years. Possibly.
Let's say I put $10,000 aside now.
Okay.
This is what would happen. Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And let me tell you what I did. And this is a real thing. When both my children were born, I put some money aside into an investment, and I didn't have that investment due until they graduated from high school.
Okay.
And that money built up over time, and they could use that money to go to college.
Uh-huh.
But here there was a catch to that, because these little brats, they weren't stupid. They said, hey, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to take a gap year. Can I use that money to travel through Europe or get a car? No, you're not going to do that. If you're not going to use that money to go to college, your mother and I are going to take that money and we're going to go to Europe and take a
Yeah.
gap year.
Exactly.
So that's the catch. But some people do that when their kids are born. If they can, they put some money aside and they invest it over a period of time and they lock it in, like buying a CD or buying a bond or buying some type of long-term investment. And then they have that money available when they graduate from high school. And you can calculate what that'll be if you know the time period and the interest that you're getting on that investment. Exactly right, Melanie.
Oh, okay. That's great. Thank you.
Okay. But yes, exactly right. If you have more money, naturally, that's going to be a bigger deal. But it's important for you to know the concept. Now, the calculation is fairly simple, and you can just follow along in this video or follow along in my equations here. But the key thing is that money today, if it's invested, all right, if it's invested, can grow over time to a specific amount that you can use in the future as a return. All right. Now, here's another case. Let's say I have this money in the future. No, let's use a better example. Let's do this. And let's pick off of what Melanie and I were talking about. Let's say I have a child and that child is 8 years old. In 10 years, that child is going to go to college. All right. So let's say I estimate, and God save us trying to figure out what college is going to cost in 10 years. But let's say let's pick a nice round number that let's say if a child wants to go to college in 4 years, they're going to need $100,000. $100,000. Okay. How much do I need to set aside today to have $100,000 in 10 years? The future value here is 100,000. What is the present value? All right. So let's say I call up my investment people and they say, Rick, we can sell you a 10-year bond at 8%. So I go ahead and buy this I want to have $100,000. How much do I need to invest in this 10-year 8% investment today? Formula, function, financial. But now instead of future value, I go to PV, present value. There it is right there. I'm going to find the present value of a future amount. I hit OK. The investment is 8%. Cool. The number of periods is 10 years. But now it says future value. In other words, in 10 years, I want minus $100,000. How much do I need to invest today? And so in 10 years, I got 100 G's. The answer? 40. Forget that kid going to college, get a scholarship. But $46,319.35. So if I go to this investment today and I write a check for $46,319.35, and it's invested over 10 years, compounded annually at 8%, in 10 years, I'll get a check for $100,000. Okay? Makes sense, right? Now, if that money is at 4%, which is more like the type of interest rates we're getting today, what would be the present value at 4%? Now, I would think it'd be a lot higher, right? Well, let's see. Formula, function, financial, present value. Now it's 4% for 10 years. The future value is still 100 minus $100,000. Yeah. I got to put $67,556.42 aside now at 4% to have $100,000 in 10 years. Melanie, question.
Oh, no, sorry. I must not have lowered my hand. I'll lower
Okay.
it. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. This is an example here of present value. I know the value in the future. What is it worth today? Here, what we just did is future value. I know the value today. What is it in the future? It's all driven by how much money you have, the years, and the interest. And the market sets the interest. You determine the years, how long you want it out. All right, well, let's look at 20 years. What happens if I wanted to have $100,000 in 20 years? What do I need today to put it aside at 8%? Let's see what that would be. Present value, 8%, 20 years, and I'm going to need $100,000 in 20 years. 21,454.82. It's quite a bit lower because it's going to be out in another 10 years, 10 more years. So 21,454.82. Now let me tell you why this is important to know. Let's say you again want to fund your children's education, or you want to put money aside for a house, or you want to put some money aside. How about this? For retirement. Put some money aside for retirement. You could basically calculate it out knowing what the interest rate and how many periods of time it's going to be out there. You could figure that out. And for companies, it's even more important. Company might have, I have a debt due in 10 years. I got to pay off a $100,000 bank loan in 10 years. Maybe I better set some money aside now in an investment so I have that money guaranteed to pay off that debt in the future. Some companies do that. Some companies have to do that or they won't get the loan. Some banks or investment houses will not lend you money if you're a company if you don't have what is called a sinking fund set up where they know you've invested some money to have that available in 10 years. They won't give you the loan. So you're really borrowing only $54,000. Well, you're borrowing 100, but you only can use 54,000 because you got to keep some of that back for payment in 10 years. And this is how some companies, especially smaller businesses, this is how the only way they can qualify to get financing. Now, larger corporations with more collateral don't have to do this, but smaller businesses have to. That's an important thing to know. So these are two perfect examples of the future value of money and the present value of money. And another term for present value is called discounting. You're discounting money. In other words, discounting it back to today. What is its value today is called discounting. A lot of times you might hear that in a problem or see that in an explanation. Hey, what's the discount rate? Well, the discount rate is 8%. What's the discount rate? Well, the discount rate is 4%. That's how much we're discounting it back to today's present value. So let's do this one more time. For 4% over 20 years, 100,000, just to make sure we can practice this. And you can do this on your own later and just check your numbers to mine. See if it's similar. 4%, 20 years, 100,000. 45, 638, 69. Quite a bit lower than 67,000. So those are examples And you're going to practice these examples like this in assignment number 2. Okay. That's discounting. That's future value. That's 2 very important time value of money areas. All right. And the reason why we're studying this, besides knowing how to do the math, I guess you could say, the reason why we're studying this, because if you want to invest in assets, if you're a company, how are you going to get those assets? Well, you're either going to borrow money or you're going to find equity or make a profit, right? That's the golden rule. And we've talked about that. If I want to acquire assets to start a business, I'm going to either have to borrow it, find some sharks or some investors to buy equity, or make a profit and put those profits to the assets that I want to buy. Well, the reason why investors and banks are going to give you the capital to create assets is because they're betting on the future value of those assets to go up. And that future value will help you pay off the debts and cause the stock price to rise and pay dividends. That's why you're in business. They wouldn't be lending you the money or investing in your company if they think the future value of those assets are not going up, because they're going to be losing the money. They're not going to get paid. So that's one of the key reasons how this applies to corporate finance, is because when we're running a business, or when you're doing your own personal finances, I am sure all of you, every one of you, want to have more money a year from now than you have now, because you're going to want to do more. You're going to want to maybe invest or add on to your house, or fix up your apartment, or buy a new car. You want to create more assets in your own life. Paulette, your hand is raised. Do you have a question?
Yes, actually, I don't have a question. I just have a comment
Sure.
to add on to just my experience of local governments receiving money, receiving funds.
Yep.
And what I found out, this ties into that. They were receiving funds quarterly, some governments up to over $1 million, and they were holding on to those. They were encumbering the funds for a number of years. And now when I think back, and so what they were doing is they're like, okay, we're gonna do an infrastructure. It's gonna take us 20 years to build, a train station.
Okay.
So we're gonna collect this money for 20 years, put it into an account, and based on what you're saying, they were making money off of that.
Sure.
In addition to getting money, they were making money, and the projects weren't even completed. So it's almost like the opposite. They were banking on that future value of dollars to grow on money that it was just compounding. So that's like another reason, to add to your point, to understand what's going on. I was able to identify this, but I didn't know exactly, I couldn't put my finger on as to how much they were making, but you're bringing it home right now. So
Okay, good, Paula. Yes. And I'm sure, and there's a question on assignment number 2 this coming week, and we'll look at that a little bit later. There's a question that asks you, the student, can you give me an example from your own personal or professional life of the time value of money? And Paulette just gave a perfect example of that from her work. So that's one of the questions on assignment 2. Give me an example of this concept of the time value of money from your own financial life. And that's, Paulette just answered one question for the assignment. So that's what I want you, one of the questions in the assignment for this coming week. Okay. Thank you, Paulette. That was very, very good. Thank you. So that's the point here. It's just like, one of the things that's, if you can able to afford it, is buy real estate in California, right? Because probably in all likelihood, that's going to go up in value. I don't know about you, where I live in Claremont, real estate is going bonkers. It's going crazy. I don't know how people can afford to buy these houses. It's unbelievable. But if you already own the asset, the real estate, you're sitting pretty. Hey, I'm making money. It's the problem is for the people who want to buy to be able to come up with that. But at the same time, that asset is increasing in value. And that's one of the things why every paycheck you put money into a 401k, you put money into a pension plan. Why do you, or an IRA? Why do you do that? Because you want that to grow over time. So who's ever managing that money, who's the investment manager, is taking that money that you're putting in and investing it with a future value down the line. And that future value will help you retire and maybe retire early. So these are all key things to understand about your own personal financial life, but also if you're managing a business, that's why you're managing the business, to create assets that have an increased value over time more than the cost to acquire those assets. And that's huge. Now, let me show you another function or another example of the time value money that's a little bit different. It's still in the future and present value concept, but it's called annuity. Annuity. What is an annuity? It's a series of payments over time. Okay. And let me give you a perfect example from your own lives. I can assume that most of us here get a paycheck. And if you look at your pay stub, you will see a deduction called FICA, Social Security, right? 6.62%, I think is the current rate. It might even be higher. I'm not sure. 6.62% of every check you put into your Social Security fund. That is a perfect example of an annuity. In other words, you're taking money out of your pay, giving it to the government, and they're taking that money every paycheck and investing it for you at a huge whopping rate of about 3% or 2.5% a year. I think that's the current. And then when you retire, nowadays, most people retire anywhere between 67 and 72 years of age. You gotta cash out at 72. You can't go any farther than 72 as far as retirement. And during those time periods, you're gonna take all that money you've put aside in the government that's grown over your working life, and that annuity is gonna pay back you in monthly checks called Social Security. You do the same thing with your IRAs and your 401ks. I don't know if any of you know this, but you have to liquefy all those funds by the time you're 72 years of age. That's when the government says that's when you cash out. You can invest personal funds longer, but if it's a retirement fund that you've been tax deferred over all these years, an IRA, a 401k, a pension fund, where you get tax breaks by putting money aside for the future, you got to liquefy those and cash them out by the time you're 72 years of age. Then you get all that money and you live on that for the rest of your life. Now, what a lot of people do is when you turn 72 and you liquefy those, a lot of people just go back in and invest them again like a personal investment. Now, some of us who don't have much of a retirement have to use that money as long as we're alive to live on. Social Security and the retirement income. Now, again, a lot of you in this class don't have to worry about this for about 30 more years. All right. But when you become an old gangster like myself, you better be aware of what's going on. Do you have enough money to live on after 72 when you have to cash out? And if you don't, you get a little nervous. Then you better have rich children to take care of you. Or you better have, that's a joke, sorry. But you have to worry about that. And I'm sure a lot of your parents or grandparents are doing that now. They're concerned about that, or they're living off that. In some respects, that's a big deal. It's all really, that's what is called an annuity. An annuity. It's a series of payments over time. So here's an example. Let's say I have an investment. All right. I invest $700 in an asset. That asset over the next 3 years is going to pay me a profit, a return of $200 after year one, $400 at the end of year two, and $300 at the end of year three, profit. All right. So that's $900 on an investment of $700. Well, you just look at that and you say, oh, I'm making $200. That's great. That's not a bad investment. $200. That's like a 25-30% return on my investment. But the money is being received in the future. You're not, it's going to be 3 years until you get this $300. It's going to be 2 years until you get this $400. So you have to do what is called the present value of these annuity payments. What is its value today when you're making the $700 investment? Okay. Now let's say to get this $700 to invest in this asset, you had to cash out of an investment that was paying you 6%. So you're giving up that 6% now because you're taking that $700 out of the investment and putting it into this new asset that's going to pay you $900 over 3 years. Is this a smart thing to do? So what you have to do is you have to discount or determine the present value of this money over the 3 years. Year 1, formula, function, financial, present value. What is the present value of $200 being received this next year with a discount rate of 6%? 6%, 1 year, future value is minus $200. So that $200 is worth $188.68 today. I'm getting it at the end of this year, but today it's worth $188.68. How about year 2? $400. Function, financial, present value. Still the 6% interest rate, discount rate. But now it's 2 periods. And the amount after year 2 is $400 minus $400. Boom. Okay. $356 is its present value. How about year 3? Function, financial, present value. I know this is a little monotonous, but I want you all to understand the concept before you start zipping out these numbers. 6%. 3 periods now. Future value is 300 minus 300. And there it is, $251.89. So this $900 to be received in over the next 3 years, actually today at a 6% discount rate has a present value of $796.56. It's still a good investment. I'm making $96.56 in today's dollars off this investment. So that's pretty good. It's positive. Now we're going to run into this number in a couple of weeks, but this is called the net present value. It's taking the present value of a future cash flow, this is called annuities, discounting them at a specific interest rate, and the difference between that present value of the cash flow and the investment is your net present value. We're going to be doing a lot of this in our case paper analysis beginning next week. This is an important concept of the time value of money to know. Now, remember what I just did. I did this year by year by year. What happens if I give you an investment problem that's 20 years long? Good Lord, I got to do this year by year by year? No, there's a function available where it wraps all of these up into one calculation. Here's that one. Function, financial, and you want to look for net present value, NPV. Not present value, but net present value, NPV. You still put in the interest rate of 6%, but now under values, all you have to do under values is go to your value stream and paint it like I'm doing here. I'm painting it. I'm putting the cells down D25 to D27. If I do that and just hit OK, it's going to combine all those numbers into one function. And look what I get. 796.56, the same amount as I did here year by year, but here I did it in one formula. This is a time saver. The NPV function in your spreadsheet. You're going to be using this a lot over the next 3 weeks. Trust me. And you use this function to determine the present value of cash flow. Not of just one number, but a series of numbers over a period of time. And that's called an annuity. So if your stockbroker calls you up tomorrow and says, hey, I got an investment for you. If you got $500, how about it? I said, well, the first question is, okay, what is my return? How much are you promising me to earn every year on that $500? Well, I'll give you a 6% return on that $500 every year. Over how many years? Well, I can only go out 3 years. Okay. Well, if you decide to invest $500 in an investment and you say I can earn 6% over 5 years, all right? So let's try that. Let's do that function. I can just now just put in $500, $500, $500. And that's going to grow what is that value over time? Okay, I got to fix this. Hang on just a sec. There we go. Let's just make this $500. $500. $500. Okay. Now, if I want to do the NPV of this function, 6% over $500, all right, I can make $1,336.51. Hey, all right, let's go with it. Here's the $500 because I'm going to be making a profit of over $800 over that time period on my investment of $500. That's what that means. So a lot of times you can do this analysis when you work with an investment manager and say, this is what I can pay you out of this money. Cool. So that's important. But the key thing to remember is that we're trying to determine the future value of a series of money being received in the future. The key thing is how many years, what's the amount of the money, and what's the discount or the interest rate involved in this calculation. It's just the same as here, future values and present value, but we're only dealing with one lump sum number. Here, it's a series of money over time. And in corporate finance, this is used more than this. Trust me. Now, here's another example in our last example tonight of time value money that you need to be familiar with. It's called, and you guys do this all the time in your lives, amortization. What is amortization? It's a series of payments every month to pay off a loan, right? Who's got a car loan? Who's got a mortgage? You make a series of the same payment every month, don't you? How do they come up with that payment? That's called amortization. An amortized loan is defined as equal payments over time to pay off the loan, where principal and interest change after every payment. Another example would be an unamortized loan. An unamortized loan, if you got great credit, they'll just say, we'll lend you the money. You just got to pay us back in 5 years. The principal, well, you just have to pay interest in the meantime. You have to pay interest only until the due date in 5 years. In order to do that, in order to get that kind of financing, you have to have collateral and good credit. Most of us don't have that type of collateral or credit, so we have amortized loans where we pay it off in equal payments over time. Here's an example. Let's say I want to buy a car and I go to the dealer and the dealer says, dude, That car is going to cost you $40,000. All right, I got $2,000 in my checking account. I'll write you a check for a down payment of $2,000. I want to finance $38,000. One of the greatest, one of the scariest moments in the history of my life is when I first started buying things and I go into a car dealer and they say, okay, Mr. Hassey, you're going to finance $38,000. Let me run your credit report to see what that will be. Oh my God. Really? How embarrassing. What if he comes back and says, I'm sorry, we can't lend you the money? How embarrassing. Or what if they come back and say, your payment's going to be $2,000 a month? I can't afford that. Adios. But this is what they do. They take that amount and they go back in and check your FICO score. And that FICO score will determine the interest rate they'll give you on the loan. And that interest rate will determine how much of a payment you got to make over the life of the car loan. So let's say they run my credit and I have to pay 3.5% interest rate a year. Okay? Which is not bad. I must have pretty decent credit. The average car loan now is about 3% for excellent credit. 2.8, 3, yeah, around that. So 3.5%. Well, remember, this is with a FICO score of 650. Yeah, I guess that's about right. Okay, well, whatever. So, all right, fine. What's my monthly payment going to be on that 3.5%? Well, how long do you want the car loan for? Well, I think I'd like it for 4 years. Okay, 4-year car loan. All right. So what is the interest rate per period? Remember, this is a 3.5% rate. So and I'm making monthly payments. So how much is 3.5% divided by 12 months? If I take 3.5%, 0.035, and divide it by 12 months, that's an interest rate per month of basically 0.291667% a month, or in decimal, 0.00291,667. That's 3.5 divided by 12. That's my interest rate per period. All right. So now they're going to calculate what is your monthly payment. All right. Formula, function, financial, and now you want to look for the function PMT, payment. PMT, there it is right there, payment. You're going to calculate your car loan, PMT. And I hit OK, and it'll say, okay, what's the interest rate per period? Well, it's 0.00291,667. That's 3.5% divided by 12 months because I'm making monthly payments. How many periods is this for? Well, it's 4 years, 12 payments a year. That's 48 payments. How much am I borrowing? Minus 38,000. Oops, excuse me. Minus $38,000. Okay. Remember, $40,000 car. I'm going to down payment 2. I'm borrowing 38,000 at 3.5% interest. The interest rate per period, number of periods are 48. My car loan payment will be $849.53. Santa Maria. Okay. Melanie, question.
Yes. Hi. Sorry. I forgot I got lost somewhere. So the interest rate, the 0.0029, we're dividing the 3.50 by 12 months, not
Yes.
by, oh, okay. So just by the year, not by the whole.
Well, remember the
loan
annual
term.
interest rate on the loan is 3.5%.
Oh,
The annual
okay, I
rate.
see.
So I make it down as an interest rate per every month is 0.029. That's the interest rate per period.
Per period. And that's what we put in the rate under the PMT financial
Exactly.
formula. Okay,
Okay.
got it. Thank you.
Now I'm going to show you the amortization schedule here because when we calculated the payment, it automatically went over to this schedule. Now I'm not going to ask you to calculate an amortization schedule. You don't have to worry about this. You don't have to worry about creating this on a spreadsheet. I just need you to know the definition of what an amortized loan is. Okay, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about that on that in the assignment number 2 and in your midterm, because it's important to know what is an amortized loan. And look what we just did. We're borrowing $38,000. We just determined the payment of $849.53. So I created a schedule here. 48 payments. All right, 48 payments. And each payment I'm going to pay $849.53, calculated here. And notice what happens. My first payment is on the loan of $38,000. So I take the interest rate on that $38,000, which is 38,000 times 0.002916667. I get $110.83. That's the interest portion of that loan balance at the end of the first payment. So then I take the interest and subtract it from the payment, and there's my principal payment. They both total $849.53. And now notice what I do. I take that principal payment and subtract it from the balance. There's my new loan balance. That goes down to year 2. Again, I take 0.002916667. There's my interest rate. Notice it's lowering. Because why? I'm paying off the principal. How much principal? The difference between the interest portion and the calculated payment. There it is. The new balance, and so forth. And notice if I go all the way down as this is paid off over the 4 years, look what happens. I pay it off, $38,000. So I'm making 48 payments of $849.53, which is $40,777.35, of which $2,777.35 is interest. The rest is principal. The loan is fee. You have a house mortgage, you got a car loan. This is how they calculate your payment coupons. Just this way. I don't need you to know how to put this together. I just need you to understand what is an amortized loan. Amortized loan is equal payments over time where the interest and the principal change after every payment. Interest reduces, principal increases because you're paying off more of the loan. And the calculation to do that is in this 849.53, and it comes right out to pay off the loan. So if you have a 20-year car house payments, that's 240 payments. You got a 10-year car loan, that's 120 payments, and so on. But I don't need you to calculate this out. Don't worry about that. But I just need you to understand what that means. Here's a typical midterm examination question. Could you please explain to me the difference between an amortized loan and an unamortized loan? Mr. Hassey, an amortized loan is a series of equal payments over time, over the length of the loan, where interest and principal are changing after every payment. But the payment remains the same every period. An unamortized loan is interest only until the maturity or the due date of the credit or the loan, and then you pay the principal at maturity. It's interest only. Okay, that's the difference. That's an important concept in the time value of money, and you'll see that as we go forward in our class. So here's a great spreadsheet that gives you the highlights of Chapter 5. Future and present values of lump sum payments, discounted or present value of annuities or series of cash flows, and the definition of an amortized loan and how that's determined by using our function capabilities in our spreadsheet. It's a lot easier doing all these with a spreadsheet than with a calculator. Even on your phone, because you got it in your phone, you got to put in the days, the time, you got to put in all that detail. Here in a spreadsheet, you still put in the detail, but it's in a function area, and you can see it right there in front of you of what you have to put in. Makes it a little easier. It's important for you to try to do this way. You can do these, you can do assignment number 2. Okay. And here's your template that I'll repost to Blackboard after class tonight that you can use this as a template to help you. Also in the text in chapter 5, they give you examples of this. You can refer to that as well. Anybody have any questions about the time value of money? Okay. Why this is important is this. Because all these calculations we just did are going to be parts of strategies and problems in the next few weeks. It's going to be how to find stock values, how to find the value or return on an investment, how to find whether we should lease a car or purchase a car. All these calculations, these concepts of present and future value are going to help us solve those questions in future chapters. And as a business administration student, you need to have these under your belt and know what they mean and how to calculate them, because you're going to use these skills throughout the rest of your business program. And if any of you are thinking about going on to graduate school, you do a lot of this in graduate school. But if any of you are just thinking of using your business degree, one of the first questions, if you're going to be working in finance, banking, insurance, any type of financial management, it's going to come up. What's the present value of this? What's the future value of this? What is the discounted cash flow value? I know that. This is a common to-do list in finance, in the business. So it's good for you all to study this and get a skill on this, and using it in a spreadsheet, it's a great benefit down the road. Okay. And we're going to practice this in this assignment. And here it is right here. Geez, Mr. Hassey, I haven't even finished assignment 1. Now you're giving me this one? Yes. I'm a task manager. I'm called the Darth Vader of Laverne. I am a pain in the neck, but you're smiling while you're doing this. Okay, there we go. So as you see, here's assignment number 2, and it's a series of questions to calculate the time value of money or the future value of money. And I give you it in multiple choice format. So all you have to do is do the calculation and find the answer. Future value, present value, amortization. Okay. Now these questions here, yeah, this is a format that you have to do, and this is just a prelude to question 6. But you don't have to do any calculations here. You just have to answer this question: what happens to the price of a bond if interest rates drop? You don't have to do a calculation, but what do you think if interest rates go up or down? How does that affect the present value of something? Okay. If the cost of money goes up, my present value goes down. So I want you to see that. You don't have to do any calculations here. You just have to figure that, rationale, figure that out. Melanie.
So if you buy a bond and the rate goes down, I don't know if this is going to give the answer away, but I just jumped in my head right now. So if you buy a bond and then it's for a 3-year bond, and then year 2, it drops down to 6%, do you lose your money? Like, you don't lock yourself in at
You only
8%?
lose it if you try to sell it.
Oh, so you're locked in at 8%
You're
over
locked
that
in
3-year?
for the life of the bond, yes. But if you try to sell it in the market, you're not going to be able to sell it for that. Let's say bonds are $1,000 lots. So if you try to sell that, if you try to sell an 8% bond in a 6% market, how will that happen?
Okay.
Now, the answer is, I'm not going to give you the answer, but the answer is not what you just said. Something different.
Okay.
Okay, but
Okay.
that's what I'm looking for.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. And then it goes on. Explain why the market of common stock offer differs from the liquidation value. Again, why would a value of a stock change if you're liquidating it to the book value? And again, common sense. Okay. Now this one here requires a little bit of thinking, but this question here in question 2, and I'll put this into the and I'll repost this into the example. This is extra credit here. If you can do this one, it's extra credit points, question 2. Then we get to the final 2 questions of this assignment, where I spoke of this earlier. If you can give me a personal example of the present or future value or the time value of money in your life, in your personal life, your business life, like Paulette said earlier, give me a little explanation of, give me a personal example of this, okay? And the final question is just to go in to your portfolio. You don't have to calculate anything if you don't want to. You don't have to tell me anything. I mean, you don't have to show me the portfolio, but I want you to select a company from your portfolio and explain to me why that one company up to this point in time has changed value. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? And why do you think it's gone up or down? Okay. Let me give you an example. All right. I'm going to give you an example of the real world, but I'm going to not name the name of the company. In the last week, a company's stock price has dramatically gone down. Why has it gone down? Because of the floods in New York City, in the East Coast, because they haven't been able to do any business, right? So that makes sense. The stock value has gone down because people say, I'm going to sell the stock because I'm not going to get any growth out of this stock because the company's out of business for a few weeks or maybe a month. So the stock price has gone down because of the weather. People, remember, when stock prices go down, more people are selling than buying. So the price is lowering. Why are more people selling than buying? Because they want out. If a stock price goes up, more people are buying than selling. That forces the price up because more people want the stock because they think that company is doing well. So just give me an example from just one of your companies. You don't have to show me any numbers, just because I'll know when you tell me the name of your company what's it doing. But I want you to give me your opinion of why do you think, what market factors, what environmental factors, whatever has caused this company to change in value up or down in the last couple of weeks. I want you to give me an example of that and what your interpretation of that. So you're doing some present and future value calculations. You're answering some questions about how markets change.
Quick question on that.
Yes,
It has to
Dustin.
be for the past couple of weeks. You don't want us going back longer than
No,
that?
just for the time you've had the stock.
Okay.
Because that opens up a can of worms going way back. I don't want you to do that much work. I just want you to take it back, going back a couple of weeks. Okay, Dustin?
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I was just thinking one of mine is really simple for why it's gone down over the past few years, but
That's all I just wanted you to take a snapshot from when you bought it 2 weeks ago to this week. But I don't need to see the portfolio. I don't need to see any of that. I just want you to do one or two paragraphs to explain that.
Professor, I thought it said 1 to 3 pages.
No, don't worry about that. 1 to 2 paragraphs, that's fine.
Okay.
And I'll change that. Okay. Don't worry about that, Darlene. Just keep it short and simple. I don't want you to spend a lot of time on that because you'll be spending more time on your portfolio next week in the midterm, and we'll save that for that then. Okay. All right. That's the assignment for this week. But again, some of you have to still clean up number 1 and get that in. Okay. Now, again, I have no problem with extensions, but you got to see a pattern here. You got another assignment coming up this week. Then you got a midterm the next week. Then you got a paper the next couple of weeks. So if you get behind, it's going to take up a lot of your time to catch up. And then it's going to affect your work on those other things. So extensions are not a problem, but you got to think about it in the context of other future work that you have to do. I don't want it to snowball and make you so overwhelmed that you're not going to do as well. And that's why you have to tell me that. If you just send me an email or send me a text or post a discussion forum, Mr. Hassey, I'm a little bit overwhelmed. I need a timeout. Help me. What can we do? You got to let me know and I'll help you. But if I don't hear from you and you turn in work that's subpar, it's not going to be very good for you. So you just have to tell me if you're having some difficulties, what I can do to help you. And I have a lot of suggestions, both talking to me in our office hours on Thursday nights, or working over the weekend, or doing some extra work. Remember, for assignments, I give extra credit if you don't do as well, 1 or 2 problems to get that grade up. So just, you got to talk to me. And, you know, there's some people in this class that I haven't heard poop from yet. Excuse my word. I haven't heard anything from anybody. You've posted a couple things in discussion board, but not much. If I don't hear from you, I'm going to assume that all is well and you don't need any help and your grade is what it is. So keep in contact with me if you need some help. That's why we have the Thursday night office hours. You can come on and talk about what's going on. You can ask questions about the assignments. Okay, so just remember that. That's what Thursday night's for. Now, again, I know some students have indicated to me, Mr. Hassey, I can't do that on Thursday nights. I got family responsibilities. I got another class. Understand. But then you just make an appointment for me over the weekend. I've talked to students on Saturday afternoons. I've talked to students on Sunday evenings. That's my job, to be available for you. So don't think you're infringing on my time. That's my job, to be available for you in this format at any time. Just remember the cardinal rule in this class: Friday mornings are Professor Hassey's golf day. No meeting with Professor Hassey on Friday mornings so I can play golf and hack up the course. After that, I'm available at any time. Just let me know, because the work's going to start coming fast and furious, and I want you all to do well. And if you need help, that's my job too. Okay? Okay, good. So that's our assignment. There's a little bit of extra credit there, which will help some of you. That's a good thing. And also, there's this spreadsheet that I'm going to post right after class that gives you a nice template for these calculations. Okay? Now, just a word to the wise, there's a couple of curveballs in that assignment number 2. Make sure you read the question carefully and understand what I'm trying to do. All right? Make sure you read each question carefully. The curveballs are easy to figure out, but if sometimes students read right through them and they don't pick them up, and then they give me the wrong answer. So just make sure you understand the question. And if you have any questions, you can let me know about that. I'll explain it to you. But there are some curveballs, and they're designed to make sure you pay attention to what you're doing. So that's that. So that's your work for this week, this assignment number 2, and here's a spreadsheet to help you. Also, this weekend, I'll be doing a video exclusively for our group case project. By that video's posted, I will post the teams that you'll work with. Yes, I know working in a team is a pain in the you-know-what. Why? Because usually 1 or 2 team members don't do diddly. Well, you guys are on the honor system here. If you have a team member that's doing diddly, be man or woman enough to tell me about it, and I'll kick them in the butt. All right? But if you let somebody skate by, you're going to get affected by that grade. It's a team grade. It's not an individual grade. It's a team grade. So if somebody's not doing their share and you got to do their work, you got to tell me about that. If I don't hear that, then I'm going to assume you're all on the same page and you'll get the grade that you get. Okay, there's nothing wrong. That's not tattling. Do you ever work in an office where you're doing all the work and somebody's getting up by hanging on their computer all day and playing on Facebook? No, that shouldn't happen. It's the same thing here. So when you put into a group, each one of you are going to talk amongst yourselves, and I'll help you assign you with duties in this project. You're going to do those duties, and if you don't do your share, I want to hear about it. That's the worst thing about group projects, and I know a lot of students and me, I'm not a big fan of them. But in the context of this class, it fits our calendar, and that's why I have to do it this way. And I apologize, but that's the only way we can do the work and get you through this without jumping out windows. We have to do it in a team format. I have a chat question. Let me check here. Okay, John has indicated he wants me to work with a fellow student. That's great, John, and I will work that out with my team. So if in the next day or so, by the weekend, if you want to work with somebody, and you can even come on to the office hours tomorrow night and tell me, or just send me an email. If you want to work with a particular student in this group, just let me know and I will do that. I have no problem with that. If you don't care, I have a random generated program that just randomly goes through and picks the students and the teams. The computer does it. So if you want to work with somebody, let me know in the next day or so.
And how many people in the group, Professor?
3.
Thank you.
And the 3 people will do the work. One person will write and answer the questions for the paper. Another person will do the capital budget analysis spreadsheet. Another person, which I will like to call the team leader, will be the person making sure that this all wraps up into one nice, neat little 5 to 7 page paper. One person will do the writing, one person will do the analysis, the other person will put all this together into a neat package. We all 3 of us do those jobs, you'll get an A. Trust me. And I'll have a video this weekend explaining this process to you. It looks like I'm getting more chats. Okay. So we'll make sure that your wishes are fulfilled in your requests. Okay. I want to make this paper and this group project as seamless as possible. And that's a tall order in this type of environment, but it can work. Trust me. I've done it before where it works very well. The key thing is giving each team member responsibilities and they're accountable to those responsibilities. There's nothing worse in a group project where the professor says, okay, you guys figure that out for yourself and do it. Disaster. I will give you the responsibilities. You have to determine in your team who's going to do this, who's going to do this, and who's going to do this. But each one will have specific responsibilities. If each one of you meet those responsibilities, you will get an A. Trust me. But if it falls apart and somebody doesn't do their job, then you're going to all suffer. And that's no fun. So we don't want that to happen. It's just like working in any team project at work or anything. If any of you go on to an MBA studies at any university, there's a lot of team projects. All the projects are mainly team projects. And that's the way of the study. Okay. All right. Let me see what else I got to do here. That. Let's go back to this. Okay. Next week, we're going to talk, and there's a couple of preliminary questions in the assignment. We're going to talk about stocks and bonds. The 2 major forms of corporate finance. Companies borrow money through the issuance of debt called a bond. Companies get capital by issuing equity in the form of stocks. All right? Most small businesses, like a lot of the companies we work for, cannot issue bonds or cannot issue stocks. Why? They're not big enough. It doesn't make financial sense. Issuing debt through the bond market and issuing stocks through the stock market is very expensive. Investment bankers, accountants, lawyers, all want a piece of the action. So it takes a big business to do this. But that's the corporate world. So we're going to learn about the corporate world of capital fundraising through bonds and stocks. And that's what chapter 6 and 7 are about. Learn about that. After next week, then we'll get into capital budgeting. What do we do with the money that we borrow? What do we do with the money that we issue stock? Well, we want a return on investment so we can pay back those bonds and stocks. Where will we go with that investment? What assets will we select to invest in? That's what the next subsequent chapters 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, and so on. That's where we're headed. Okay. But this week, let's not think too far ahead or we'll really start getting headaches. This week, let's concentrate. If you haven't finished assignment 1, get that done in the next 48 hours. And you've probably already talked to me about that or emailed me. Then assignment 2, work on that. And then this weekend, probably on Sunday, I will post a video explaining the group project with our group teams And we'll begin to start putting that. You can't do too much on the group project yet because we haven't talked about a lot of that material. But we can start getting organized with responsibilities, and the case will be posted with that video so you can read and download the case and understand it and think about it. And then we're off and running. And that'll be all explained in the video this weekend. Okay. It'd be a lot easier, yes, if we were in a classroom in Burbank, in a classroom in Ontario, in a classroom in Kern County, but such are the times, and we'll get through this and we'll do it fine. So don't worry about it. We'll do okay. The key thing is to stay in contact with yours truly. I will help you. I don't want you to get overwhelmed, but as you can see, next week, we're at the halfway point of our class. We're halfway done next week. So it goes by fast, and we just have to take a deep breath and make sure we can manage all this. And that's my job, is to help you. Okay? Any questions? All right. Let's go back out to here. Brittany Green, question.
Yes, so just to clarify, we have assignment number 2 due on Tuesday, and then we'll have class Wednesday, and then you'll post the midterm after next week's class?
The midterm will be posted before the class next Wednesday.
Okay,
And not to get you guys all stressed out, the midterm is just, the assignments have about 10 questions. The midterm has 15 questions. Okay. It's not hugely more than the assignments. It's just in a different way of presenting. It's a little bit more explanation, interpretation. In the midterm, I might do the calculation. You got to tell me what that means. Okay, that's the difference.
Okay.
The assignments are you doing the physical calculations. The midterm is I, in many respects, do the calculations. You have to just explain to me, oh, okay, this is what you're doing, Professor Hasse. I understand. So that's the difference. Okay.
thank you.
So that's the timeline.
Question.
Yes,
How long do we have to work on the midterm?
1 week.
Okay.
I give it to you on Wednesday. It is due. I give it to you Wednesday, the 15th, and it's due Tuesday, the 21st. But
Thank you.
extensions are available for that. Okay, LaToya?
Yes, got it. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? I'm a little concerned. That's why I'm recording this, which is good. So maybe people will see this, but I don't see a lot of students here this evening, like missing about 10. Remember my rule, if you cannot attend, you got to let me know. If you didn't let me know, and I know a couple of people did, they won't be here tonight. But if you didn't, that's going to affect your grade if you had let this happen a couple of more times. So make sure if you cannot attend, you let me know. I don't care the reason, just let me know so I know what's going on. So if those people who are watching this video and you didn't let me know about you not being here tonight, in the future, please let me know. Okay, that's important. It's just being fair to everybody. This is a remote class, and a remote class means you must attend. So if you don't attend, I just need to know that you're not attending. If you don't tell me, that affects your grade assessment. So be aware of that. Not you people here, but be aware of the people who are listening to this video, hopefully. See, that's one of the tough things about online Zooming. You kind of lose the attachment with the professor and the engagement. And sometimes that can be a little bit tough. And I understand that, but I give you an out. All you have to do is tell me you're not going to be here. I don't need the reason why. And that's your out. If you don't want to come to class, just say, Mr. Hasse, I'm not coming tonight. Okay. But if you don't tell me, that tells me that you don't give an RA, and that's going to affect your grade. Excuse my French. Okay. Wendy, is everything all right? You're awfully dark there. Why is it so dark where you are, Wendy? What's going on?
Kind of lazy to get up and turn on the light. That's it.
I can understand that. All right. All right. If there's nothing else, and Catherine, Kathy, I did not hear from you tonight. Miracles upon miracles. What's going on? I did not hear from you. Well, your mic's not on.
Oh, maybe that's why you didn't hear from me.
Now, I'm always fascinated by the background. Are you the Wolf of Wall Street there with that background, or what's going on there?
Yep. I'm just trying to be fun. If you saw what was really behind me, then you would like this one.
Really? Okay. Well, if you can see what's going on behind me, well, you can. If you could see the floor of my office here, it'd be disaster. By the way, the Dodgers are losing tonight 5-2. If anybody wants to know, in the 9th inning, and the Giants won today. Adios, Dodgers. The Giants won today. That's tonight's Corporate Finance Sports Report. Okay, everybody, have a great week. If you need any help, keep in touch. You know where to find me. Just go to the Indian Hill Boulevard in Claremont underneath the 10 freeway embankment. I'm always hanging out there during the day. So you just come on by and I'll be there to ask. That's kind of a bad thing. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Adios.
Thank you, Professor.
Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.